What's happening, MJ traders and investors? It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews, also home to the best MJ community on the planet. Today is Saturday, March 2nd. It's a brand new month, and I hope you're having a great weekend. In this video, we're going to be discussing a topic that I had posted about recently on X and also on the community tab on the YouTube channel. I asked retail investors, my fellow retail investors, what comes first on MSOS ETF? Do you think we're going to hit $6 first, or are we going to hit $12? And I think we were around $9 whenever I posted this original poll. We'll go over the results, and I'm curious what you think in the comment section below. Do you think we're going to hit $6? Do you think we're going to hit $12? And like I said, price was at around $9 when I said it, so it was $3 up or $3 down, essentially, right? So everybody was like, "Oh, good question." So curious what everybody thinks in the comment section below. I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on this. And then we'll also bring up the MSOS ETF chart, and we'll do some technical analysis. I'll give my thoughts and opinions on the price action and what to expect in the days, weeks, months ahead. But as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Never buy or sell anything based on anything that I write or anything that I say. Also, you can give us a follow over on X, which is formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. And if you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all the good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. So as I mentioned, I made a poll. If you go over to the community tab here, you can see, if you just scroll down, I already got it up here, but that's where you would find it. I posted 2 weeks ago, MSOS, what comes first? So we had 111 votes, and $12 was an option, and $6 was an option, and I picked $6. And I mentioned in my previous analysis that I said we could, I would more than likely expect somewhere around the low 7s to high 6s is where we would see a bottom. I don't think we're going to go below $5. I think the long-term bottom is in, and I think rescheduling could happen between now and the end of April. Maybe it's a little bit later than that, but I think that's the most likely scenario and time frame. And then if that happens, we're easily going $12 beyond, in my opinion. But again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I did believe that we're going to go to around $6. 111 people believe that the majority, 61%, say $12 and 39% say $6. And the reason why this is important is because most of the time, the average retail investor usually gets it wrong. So something similar happened when, a couple influencers on crypto put out, there was like thousands of votes as well. I think like a few thousand or somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000. And, a lot of retail investors were saying Bitcoin was going to go to 12,000, right? And it got to 15,000, and then here we are back at all-time highs, right? So usually the herd, the crowd, the retail investor is usually wrong. So I usually try to take that contrarian approach. And right now it's saying that most people are just bullish, and more often than not, this ends up being wrong. So it gives me even more confidence that we're probably going to see $6. And then there was also 92 votes over on X. So MSOS, what comes first there? 12 and 6, 77.2% said $12, and then 22.8% say $6. So we have to leave our emotions at the door, right? Obviously, I wanted to go to $12 first as well, but that's not the most realistic in my opinion, and I can give you a thesis on why, right? I think I've been saying for a while now, technical analysis wasn't looking that great. We're due for a cool-off period. If the S&P 500 is at new all-time highs, and the MJ industry is struggling, what happens if we see a 5-10% correction on the S&P 500? That's not going to bode well for the MJ space, right? Which would add more confidence to the fact that we could see $6 before 12. And then also the fact that crypto is stealing the show, and big tech and AI, right? We have the Magnificent Seven, we have crypto. Alt season really looks like it's starting to begin now. And I've been saying, I've been on record for the last, I think, couple of years now, and I've done a video on just this, that I don't believe MJ is going to enter a new multi-year bull market and end this multi-year bear market until big tech and crypto enters a multi-year bear market and ends this multi-year bull market. So essentially the opposite. So inverse. So that's another reason why I'm looking at that. But you can see here, basically out of 200 votes, majority of people are expecting $12. So again, this is usually something that we see from retail investors where, we're just perma bulls. Most people just can't leave their emotions at the door, and they look at this and they say, the media has them believing that we're going to see $12. There's no way that they could potentially expect $6 based on all of the fundamental catalysts that we have, right? And we've been in a bear market for 3 years, but the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Just remember that. And if we were to pull back to low 7s, high 6s, that wouldn't be like we'd still be in a weekly uptrend. And I mentioned this in my previous video. We're in a weekly uptrend. We have our low, high of the bounce here at 769. Then we had the higher low there at 599. And then once we broke the high of the bounce at 769 here on this candle on the first week of January, that confirmed the weekly uptrend. And then from that support, we went up 80%. So that means we could pull back just under 44% and still be in a weekly uptrend. So from the high to the recent low here a couple of weeks ago, we're down 22%. We are trying to hold EMA 12, and we're seeing some nice buying pressure there with some lower wicks off of that EMA 12 support, which is great to see. But we did hit weekly overbought. We were daily overbought. You can see here that that's where we topped out on the resistance the previous time as well. But like I said, no major red flags, but the fact that even from the recent low here, we could have still pulled back another 28% and still be in a weekly uptrend, right? So at this point, the most likely scenario, I believe, is a tightening range where we come down and we form a type of equilibrium and lower high, lower low, lower high, right? Tighten up. And then, like I said, if the S&P 500 were to roll over and see a healthy correction, 5-10% down, which I think is, it's bound to happen any week now. There is a weekly bull flag on the S&P 500, though, targeting 521. So if I just bring up SPY, and that's something that we can look at as well, right? So we have our low, high, brief higher low, and it actually confirmed the weekly bull flag, and it says it was targeting 521, and I drew this weeks ago. And you can see here, we are about 1.5% away. So the high was 513. This is why technical analysis matters, right? And if we're seeing weekly bull flags and new all-time highs on the S&P 500 every single week pretty much now, and the MJ space isn't participating, that's a bit of a red flag, right? So if we bring up MSOS again, on the weekly time frame, you can see here, we've actually been consolidating for the last couple of weeks, right? So it's been the opposite. So not set up well if the S&P 500 were to see any weakness. And on the daily time frame, we actually lost the daily uptrend. We had our low, high, higher low, and higher high, but then we came down and we lost their support there at 862. So no longer in a daily uptrend, and we could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross on our way to daily oversold, which would be the first time since back in October, which is when the S&P 500 was last daily oversold. So I think the chances of this heading to, low 7s, high 6s are definitely higher than us going to 12. But I really don't think we're going to go to 12. The only way I can see that happening is if we get a news headline, right? We've got a catalyst. So if we got some sort of headline, DEA comes out next week, sometime on, let's say Monday or even Friday next week, DEA approves Schedule 3 recommendation, right? Well, obviously, then everything would explode and the technicals go out the window. But all things unchanged right now, it's looking like we could see that low 7s to high 6s. But I'm curious what everybody else is thinking, what your thoughts and opinions are. I'm looking at the weekly time frame here, and we had a stochastic bear cross, which is a little bit of a cause for concern and some crack in its armor. And then we're set up for a potential MACD bear cross here on the weekly as well. Hasn't happened yet, but it's getting close. And we did lose the 10-week moving average briefly, but we just lower wicked. And we did end up closing above it by 7 cents. So I want to see another weekly candle close over the 10-week moving average next week, but that's sitting at 880. So if we were to lose that next week and close below it, that would increase the odds that we would see a MACD bear cross, and then that would increase the odds we're probably going to be heading down to those low 7s and high 6s, in my opinion. Also, we got above the 100 weekly, and that's sitting at 882. So it's looking like that could be strong resistance, and maybe we backtest the 50 weekly there at 667 while those moving averages tighten up and see a bull cross with the shorter term, the 50 below the 100 and crossing. We don't have the 200 weekly defined yet because of a lack of trading history, but wouldn't be surprised if we did come back, backtest that 50 weekly there, and that's sitting at 667. So again, lots of levels in that area. Also, the 200-day moving average is at 680, the 100 there at 750. So we are coming up on the 50-day moving average there at 842. So if we were to see a daily candle close below that, then we're looking at 750, then 680. So again, very strong area of support, in my opinion, and lots of confluence pointed to the fact that we could see that low 7 and high 6s as a potential bottom. But like I said, I don't think I've been on record to say, if you bought this thing at $5 or below, I've been saying for many, many months now that this thing is a screaming buy anywhere around $5, and it's an absolute must buy under $5. But again, not financial advice, just my own thoughts and opinions. And then sure enough, $5, 637, 25% of upside. Oh, missed that opportunity. Had another opportunity here at 478. So that was a screaming buy below $5. Then we shot up to 100%, over 100% on that HHS news. We came back down, 492, gave it all back, right? You had another chance to do that. If you just entered there, that was 55%. If you held to the high here in the monthly uptrend, first ever monthly uptrend confirming, that would have been 116%. Then you had another option here at 599 and a higher low here on the weekly time frame to add. Even if you added there, that was another 77% of upside, right? So even if you just dollar cost average and accumulated under $5, you'd be laughing, right, all the way to the bank. And like I said, we did confirm a monthly uptrend on MSOS ETF, low, high, higher low, and higher high for the first time in history. And we could be gearing up for a monthly EMA 12 and 26 bull cross, which would be the first time in history. But look how far away they are. It's going to be at least a couple months, in my opinion, before we see those cross. So that's, again, why I'm expecting, some major fireworks into the end of April and into May, where I think we could get rescheduling decision announcement from the DEA, and I think they will approve Schedule 3 as the most likely scenario, and I think that's the most likely time frame. But realistically, could be a month or two after that, but I just think I'd say around 70-80% chance that we're going to get it sometime between now and April, and the charts are really screaming that, right? Tons of names are confirming monthly uptrends, and we're seeing other names like Tilray and High Tide in Canada that are very close to seeing theirs, but they got some work to do still. Look at the US, you got MSOS, you got True Leaf, Cure Leaf, you got AYR, Green Thumb, all in monthly uptrends, and then it's going to take a couple of months, but in a couple of months, the rest of the sector, both U.S. producers, Canadian producers, retailers, ETFs could all be in monthly uptrends over the next couple of months. So it's looking really, really good. But just because we confirm a monthly uptrend doesn't mean we're going to the moon tomorrow. And like I said, we're still seeing quite a bit of space there between those monthly EMAs before they cross bullish, which means we could pull back, tighten up, see those moving averages, exponential moving average tighten, and then we could form another brief higher low here on the monthly time frame. Like I said, somewhere around that $6 to $7 area. And then I think that'll be another buy the dip opportunity, in my opinion. And then, like I said, into April and May, I think is when things are going to get really, really exciting. But going into there, again, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. What do you think? $6, $12? I guess at this point we're closer to $6, so it's not as as much of a a difficult question when I posted it a couple of weeks ago when we were at $9. But I'll continue to do some of these polls and things like that. So make sure you're subscribed, tick the bell, all that stuff. It'll all pop up, and then follow us over on X as well. I'll be posting some exclusive content there. But it's Rob with Pow Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth. Love each and every one of you who supported me along this journey, and I'll be here making videos as long as I am on this earth. So have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on the next video.